Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. Ask you anything in the news you need to know about. We run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. A lot of weird news today. Obviously, we're going to start with the biggest news because it's connected to everything else we're going to talk about. Well, you know what? We'll start with this because I think it's relatively interesting. This first news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Titans request interview with Dolphins Eric Studesville or Studesville, however you say his name. I always get his name wrong. He's been a coach in Miami for a very long time. He's been coaching the running back since definitely since Adam Gase. So he's been through several regimes. Very well respected, I would assume. I don't really know. You know, he did, honestly, I'm not going to lie, he actually has done a pretty good job when you think about it in Miami. He hasn't had a lot of talent at that position, and when he has had talent there, they've played really good. Like every single time he's had someone with relative talent. And yeah, he's a good coach. So it's kind of sucks if he does leave. It's probably about time that he's even, gotten a look at offensive coordinator. He did dabble in that, obviously, with Brian Flores this last season. They were doing the weird, double offensive coordinator thing. So he's had some experience in play design. But, yeah, it'd be weird to see him go. He's coached in Miami a long time. Hopefully, maybe we can get someone new in there, or hopefully he stays. This next news story is very weird, and everybody knows about it already. It's obviously the talk of the town and Dolphins news stuff. Dolphins move on from Vic Fangio. It was apparently, again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors, apparently a mutual parting. When you really get into it, there's two. Obviously, he immediately goes to Philadelphia, which, if you're a Dolphins fan, it's kind of like, did you ever really want to be here then? The marriage never worked for a multitude of reasons. Number one, I don't think he even really wanted to be here. I think every Dolphins fan could kind of read that in all of his press conferences. And honestly, it's been maybe it was the money, maybe it was the location. I don't know why he took the job. The second thing is, clearly the players didn't connect with him for whatever reason. It's really weird when you get into that aspect of it and what has been reported. Because we know that Andrew Van Ginkel clearly gets along with him. It's the only reason he came back to Miami, or he'd be in New England right now. Obviously, Bradley Chubb has a lot of history with him. It seems that for whatever reason, it's the secondary that hasn't really meshed with him. And maybe it's even more players than that. They didn't go into detail. Obviously, Drew Rosenhaus, who is a GM for a lot of players on the team, I believe including Van Ginkel, he obviously has a good read with the players. From what he's saying, that, players didn't get along with him. And then, obviously, if you guys have been keeping up with Javon Holland posts the video of him kicking a rock, basically saying, after Vic was let go, or he left, that, clearly there was some disconnect there for whatever reason. So, and all in all, it was honestly an awful experience. Because not only did the defense get severely injured, he really didn't, I would say, there were some stupid decisions made. And when you look at the end of the season, he didn't really adjust that much. It was very much the same game plan every week. And for all of the disguising and moving that you would expect a Vic Fangio defense to have, we really didn't show too many different looks. Now, granted, a lot of that has to do with injuries, but at least try other stuff. We really never adjusted to anything offenses were attacking. Duke Riley was a huge, people have already pointed out crossers and, whatever that, every team that we played the last 3 or 4 games of the year ran that wheel route combination that was pretty much what we started this season. With that kind of motion wheel route. For whatever reason, we never adjusted to it. The Bills scored on a big play on it. The Ravens scored on a big play on it. Even the Chiefs attempted to run it. I think the play got called back for, it was like more of like a pick play. So it was stuff like that, like never really adjusting to that. Even in the playoff game, God bless him, we still played pretty hard, but we really didn't. We did the same thing every defensive possession. We really didn't have a multitude of blitzes all year. It was pretty much the same type of blitz. I really didn't think we've switched or disguised much, at least on the front seven. I don't know why that was. And I say all that to say, and a lot of that has to do with injuries. But if you look at the numbers, it is pretty hard to deny now whether it was talent or I think it was a mixture of both. I mean, when this defense was healthy, it was one of the best in franchise history. Set the franchise record for sacks. So this is my point. It was a weird relationship. There were some good, there were some bad. There were a lot of head-scratching moments, like not playing Cam Smith. I would have benched Kader Kohou. I think he should have been benched. I really do. And at least Cam Smith should have tried to play that position. I think it's an actual crime that Kohou never got benched. Not moving corners with receivers was kind of annoying. When you have Jalen Ramsey, you would think you would at least move him with the best player. Teams took advantage of that consistently. They moved. Stephon Diggs. Just go back and look at it. They tried to match up their best receiver on Kader Kohou as much as they possibly could, and it worked for him. So it was a mixed bag at best. There were some really high highs. There were some really low lows with Vic. It ends in the worst way possible. Apparently him and Mike McDaniel didn't get along, so this was never going to be a long-term situation, unfortunately. There were things I didn't like about the way he called defenses either. Like I just mentioned, I don't think it was disguised. There was not enough exotic looks that you see some of the better, younger defensive coordinators do in the NFL. So, I don't know. It was a little bit too basic sometimes. But again, there were good things, statistically with the defense. So you can't say it was like an utter failure. I wouldn't say he's one of the worst coordinators we've ever had, not even close to that. But again, it was very frustrating, and from a fan's perspective, kind of just like disappointing. I expected to be a little bit better than it was, and even though it was great, there were some great numbers that were put up. But I think all of us can say, even early in the year, it was just a mixed bag. There was great moments. There was probably more bad moments than great. And, and it wasn't all Vic's fault. There were other factors into that. I think the defense, there were times where they played phenomenal. And the offense let them down last season, when the offense kind of got in rut, especially on the road. But then there were times where the defense let the offense down more times than not. The Buffalo Bills game is a great example of that. Giving up 14 straight points when your offense scores 14. Or against the Baltimore Ravens, the defense played awful. When we go up 7, we never really could capture momentum. So again, best way to describe it, very inconsistent and a mixed bag, to say the least. And a lot of people could say, well, the injuries. There are other defensive coordinators in the NFL. Evero, I can't remember his first name right now. But if you're a hardcore fan, you should know who this is. He should have interviewed with the Miami, but the Carolina Panthers blocked that from happening. He did a great job with a way less talented defense that was also very injured. And they put up pretty dang good, really phenomenal numbers as a unit. And that's a kind of a good example of kind of elevating what you have. And again, it just never really felt like Vic gave 100%. I'm sure he did. it just never felt like it was a good fit, I think is the word I'm trying to find there. So again, see you, Vic Fangio. Glad he can go to the team that he always wanted to go to in the first place, and we can finally move on. I think and again, personnel decisions and benching people and moving pieces around, he really was bad at. Like, he never changed anything. It's like, dang, man. Maybe change some things, move this guy here, like Cater Co, get the heck out of the lineup, Duke Riley, get out, play another safety at middle one, whatever you have to do, dude, on third down. Like, moving Van Ginkel to linebacker never made sense to me. It never was good. I still to this day don't know why we did that. He was a much better edge player than anybody else, and I will say this about him. I think that's the best thing that he does is coach outside linebackers, and he really frees them up to do whatever they want. And we had a really good fit for that. I mean, Jalen Phillips, Van Ginkel, and Bradley Chubb all had career seasons when they were healthy. And that's because of what Vic's scheme kind of allows them to do. So again, there were good parts and bad parts. But then again, there was a lot of weird things he did. And it never really felt like he was all in. So moving on from Vic Fangio. I keep talking around in circles a little bit. Yeah, just not a great experience. Evero would have been nice because he's a great coordinator. So the Dolphins have requested an interview. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins to interview Leslie Frazier for defensive coordinator, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. The Dolphins are interviewing the veteran coach for their defensive coordinator vacancy. I love the idea of this for a lot of different reasons. I think that I love Leslie Frazier's defenses. Obviously we played against him in Buffalo, and even when I know people will point out, Sean McDermott's a defensive guy. You just look at the difference between this defense, the Bills' defense this year, and how it was ran compared to what Leslie did when he was there. Clearly, Leslie Frazier had his control of that side of the football pretty well. And I've always loved his defenses. Simple, but very varied. Not overly complicated, I would say. More of a 4-3 defense than a 3-4, which would be an interesting adjustment. But I would have to go back and look. I don't know how many 3-4. I don't remember a lot of them. So a lot of cover 2, obviously, he's famous for. But again, simple, but very detailed, very exotic at times. His blitz packages are really nice. And I just love his defense. And has had a lot of success in the NFL. Veteran coach. And who's had a lot of success. Very similar to Vic Fangio. Has had head coach experience as well. Leslie Frazier would be my number one guy that I would want to get the job. As soon as I read that today, I was very, very excited because I think he would be a perfect fit. The only thing that sucks about Leslie Frazier, obviously he wants to be a head coach again. And so we wouldn't have him for, which is fine. If you come here and do a great job and move on, that means we got the best out of the whole deal. But to me, this would be the best hire. Great schemes. I think it's a scheme fit. And great coordinator. And I think would be the best. And has a lot of experience. And a lot of experience and a lot of his resume has, a lot of these guys like Anthony Campolini, who's obviously interviewed for the job. Hard Knocks, one of the coolest, more fun people on the show, but doesn't have any experience. He seems to be the players clearly love him, but we don't really know if he's a great coordinator. And so, giving someone a chance isn't always a bad thing, but I would rather have Leslie Frazier. If you asked me out of the candidates, who would I rather have? Leslie Frazier for sure. So just to recap, the Dolphins the Dolphins also requested an interview with Bobby Babich, who's a linebackers coach for the Buffalo Bills. He's obviously done a good job there. Again, unexperienced, would be kind of taking a flyer on him. I don't love that, and I would rather know what I'm getting. And if there's a great coordinator out there that that who is great, I would rather have him. So I would rather have Leslie Frazier, obviously Anthony Campanelli, I think is his name. I'm over here saying his name wrong. Campanelli. If I'm forget, see, this is what happens, everybody. Ryan Slowick, outside linebacker coach, also is expected to interview, and Brandon Staley is also expected to interview very soon. I thought he had already interviewed, but I guess not. Brandon Staley is another guy that I know everybody's gonna freak out because his head coaching resume isn't very good. But I love his defenses. I think he's a very good coordinator, very creative. I think his defenses have always been pretty solid as a coordinator. And obviously as a head coach, it's more of a mixed bag, but he has to focus on other things. He's not just focused on the defense. But I think he's a great coordinator. Very similar, almost the same defense in terms of the foundation to Vic Fangio. So that's a good thing because a lot of people had career seasons in that scheme with those fronts. But I think he does more on the back end, and I think he mixes things up a bit more, plays a little bit more man coverage than Vic. Blitzes probably a little bit less than Vic, or maybe the same, but I think he mixes in man a lot more. So I like Brandon Staley, a lot of success, like his schemes. I think he's a very good coordinator. So if we get, Staley or Leslie Frazier, I'm pretty happy about it. I think both of those guys could come in and really do a great job. And I'm glad that, we got these guys to interview here after Vic. Because, dude, if you told me that Vic leaves and we either get Leslie Frazier or Brandon Staley, that's pretty good timing, all things considered. So hopefully this gets figured out soon, because I'm excited, man. If Leslie Frazier definitely my number one candidate for sure. I think that's a perfect fit for a lot of reasons, and I don't think we'll have the whole player issue. And hopefully we get somebody who's committed, more committed than Vic was, and who just loves being a coach here. I think that's one of the things that was lacking with Vic, and clearly he wanted to be somewhere else. And I'm excited to see who becomes the new DC. Don't think there's anything else newsworthy. Here's another one. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Baxter Berrios says goodbye to the Dolphins. He, in an Instagram post, he posted something where he said that he's leaving, which I was like, okay. I guess in the exit interviews they told him he's leaving. I'm not gonna lie, it was very disappointing. Just never really kind of turned into the player that we needed him to be, and hopefully we can find someone who can play that position, because God, we can't find anybody. We really can't find anybody to be a great possession receiver, be more of a classic slot guy. Whether it's going to be a tight end or a slot receiver, it would be nice to get one of them. Omar Kelly said something interesting, that the Dolphins really love Julian Hill, who looked good at times. He really did. And hopefully his game can kind of progress fairly quickly. It kind of sucks to hear that, though, because it's like, man, Brock Bowers would be awesome in Miami. Maybe that still happens. I hope that would happen. That would be pretty awesome, but there's a lot of interesting people the Dolphins could take in that position. They're in a very good spot in the draft. But, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. It's, kind of interesting. But again, if Vic leaves, but it's like, yeah, we can replace him with people that are, equally as good, or hopefully will be better here in Miami, but a better fit, for sure. And Leslie Frazier has experience with a younger head coach, and so I think that's a good thing as well. And Brandon Staley and Mike is another great fit because they're really good friends, and they're both young, and I think that's a great fit as well. So I hope it's one of those two. Both of them are very highly coveted. I think Brandon Staley a little bit more than Leslie. Both, I think, respected as coordinators in the NFL. So very excited hopefully this gets, like I said, this can kind of get concluded very soon. So that's it. See you guys in the next one.